same. They are not the same.
I want to really respond to several things. The first thing is that the individuals who are responsible for creation science are the second generation of people who followed the writers of the Fundamentals. The Fundamentals being a series of tracts that were written between around 1914 and 1919 by conservative Christians who were alarmed with the success of biologists in essentially selling the evolutionary model to the Christian community. Over and over and over, people were experiencing the evidence and deciding that the earth was much older than Genesis said it was, and that other facts presented or statements presented in Genesis were not factual, or were not factual in the sense that people had thought they were factual. As it turns out, it is clear that Genesis is merely one of many kinds of creation stories and origin myths which has been presented over the eons by different groups of people. It happens to be the one that has been foundational to much of our culture. And so these Christians, people of very good conscience, wrote the Fundamentals. Almost to a person, the people who wrote the Fundamentals believed in an earth older than the earth that Kent Hovind believes in. And most of them were either gap theorists, or they were individuals who very well educated, very conservative Christians who were in effect creationists, but they were the beginnings of sort of a line drawn in the sand said theistic evolution is as far as we're going to go. It was the second generation of people following the Fundamentals who, picking up on a couple of individual preachers, decided that Genesis had to be literally true and inerrant. Now, you challenge to show a falsehood in Genesis. There are many that we could look at. I would like to point out one. I don't know what is the length of a cubit that you have, Kent? 20.6 what? Inches. So a little over a foot and a half. All right. In fact, the ark then would be some 450 feet long. As it turns out, physics and modern science empirically realized at the end of the middle of the last century that the biggest wooden ship that can be built is only about 300 feet long. Anything bigger than that had to be seriously girded with iron, and the boats tended to be very unstable in the water. They tended to sag in the middle or rise in the middle, and the ends would sag. They tended to leak like sieves, and they tended to be very unseaworthy, and so they quit making them. And in fact, one of the things that caused us to go over to steamships was the complete instability of sailing ships or other kinds of wooden ships, wooden structures made for water over 300 feet length. So, in addition to making the ark, Noah has to depend upon the miracle of God to keep it from sinking. In addition, the ark would have displaced, by the accounts of some of the creationists, it would have displaced enough water that the account of how much water over the tops of the mountains in a worldwide flood would be such that it would have run aground on the highest mountains. Not that it necessarily would have gone there, but it could have run aground. So certainly it is a slipshod approach to destroying and recreating the world, to do the destruction and to manage the creation in human terms in such a way that it could have failed so easily. I'll add one other thing. How have I got? 60 seconds. Well, we'll do this another time. Let me point out that all philosophers in the 19th century were trained in metaphysics, that is first principles, in natural philosophy, in theology, in social philosophy at the minimum, as well as in ethics and aesthetics, the basic systems of philosophy. For Darwin to have been trained in theology is absolutely not a surprise. Everybody was. Don't you think it's curious that Darwin, Hume, and so many other scientists, great thinkers of the greatest century of the modern era, the 19th century, should come up with evolution reading God's natural text, the world? sir. Mike, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Just a few quick things. The debate's not on Noah's Ark.
No, it has been discovered, and it was not discovered in 1978, and the Turkish government has it. Built a visitor center for it and a road to it. You can watch them dig it up today if you like. I'd love to show pictures of it at the end of the show if you'll let me. The discussion's not about Genesis, it's about proving evolution. We're attacking and they're defending. Also, I don't see that a God who would use, I don't think God would use evolution. It's not the clear teaching of Scripture. You would not be able to read the Bible and come away with evolution unless you came to it with that preconceived ideal from a public education. I don't believe God is cruel. He doesn't need misfits and mutations to make everything. He can make it right the first time. I think there's many indications just in nature He's given us where bees need flowers and such. Another remark was basically, I guess I lost my thing there. That's okay. We'll do what we can here to get it going. The first generation was not alarmed. They were basically just saying there's no evidence for this. That's what we're saying today. We're still here today defending that there's no evidence for evolution. Well, technology is great until it crashes, but here we go, we got it again. Let's bring up some lies that are taught in the textbooks today as truth. And the opposite of truth, in fact, is basically a lie. They're teaching today that we have vestigial organs, and that is proof for evolution. I don't know how you can put one and one together and come up with that as your equivalent, but that's just not true. Medical science has proven a use for just about every organ I've ever heard was used for evolution. Many things are being taught today, like whales used to walk around on land because they have a vestigial pelvis. I'm sorry, that whale needs that pelvis just to reproduce. Some very special muscles anchor onto that. That's not a pelvis, the whale needs it. It has nothing to do with evolution whatsoever, yet these things are being taught as fact. We're taught our tailbones are vestigial. We will pay at CSU to have anybody's tailbone removed to make this point. You need that tailbone, some very special muscles anchored to it that you will need in about a day. These things are not proof for evolution, yet they're still in our textbooks. Even if there were some vestigial organs, that would be the opposite of evolution. These lies are mixed in with science, and we love science at Creation Science Evangelism. We know real science, like these lights and computers, will draw you to God. But there's a poison mixed in. Right now, today, I probably would not have a hard time finding this in probably a biology textbook from this campus. Haeckel's drawings of a baby going through supposedly all the steps of evolution before it becomes human. Well, this was proven to be a lie almost 100 years ago. Haeckel was convicted of fraud at his university, University of Jena. I guess that slide's not going to come up today. All the supposed evidence they have, fossil evidence for the cavemen, those have all been thrown out, not just by the creationists, but by the evolutionists themselves. It doesn't matter. Look at the cavemen. Neanderthal, built up from a pig's tooth. Piltdown man, it was a fraud. These people were shown to be frauds. It was a human skull and an ape's jawbone. For 40 years, that was in our textbooks, leading students astray as divine, supreme proof for evolution. I wonder how many kids doubted the Bible because of this and died and went to hell because of this lie. It certainly was not a fact. It certainly was not proved at that point, and it certainly still is in many textbooks across the country as proof for evolution when it's been proven wrong. Neanderthal man, that was a man with arthritis. They saw the skeleton. It was bent over. They said he's halfway from ape walking on fours to a man walking on twos. It was an old man with arthritis. He was halfway going down. These things are ridiculous, but they're still in textbooks today. Lucy, the